What's up, guys? It's Ryan Pineda. I'm here at Straight Outta The Lair, literally the best podcast in the world in all charts. I mean, you're talking fitness, entrepreneurship, spiritual health. We talk about everything on this episode, so I'm happy to be here. Let's jump into it.
Straight Outta The Lair. Today I talk with an exceptional entrepreneur and influential figure in the realm of social media. With a trajectory that spans with his days as a professional athlete to his current role as a devoted family man, his life's narrative is one of remarkable transformation. He teaches his approach to real estate with several different ways of investing, delves deeply into matters of faith, and we celebrate the birth of his newborn child and how he had an active role in the birth. We talk about branding, personal development, discovering your path, and secrets to cultivating and enduring wealth. Here's a podcast with Ryan Pineda. Straight Outta The Lair, joined today by fellow Vegas resident, my friend, and my gosh, global takeover entrepreneur. Where do we start? You're Ryan Pineda.
Future partner.
Oh, well, conversations that... well, I don't know if you want to put on the podcast, but nonetheless, my friend, you are a man of many talents and truly are an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. You've done so much incredible things, and more than anything else, self-made.
Yeah.
Amazing, my friend.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that story, I know, but I want to start off the podcast by talking about what's just happened in the last week with you, my friend. My goodness.
Yeah, dude. Had a third child. His name is Judah. He's healthy, but man, it was a wild experience, dude. We did a home birth, which we had never done before. I didn't know that was really like a thing that people did, but my wife really wanted to do it. And, you know, all my kids up to this point have been premature. My son was 2 months, my daughter was a month. And, you know, to do a home birth, they said you got to make it past a certain day in order for it to be safe. And so we made it past that day, you know, like a week ago. And then, boom, around 1 a.m. on Saturday, my wife's water breaks, and we're like, it's go time. Well, the midwife tells us, hey, you know, go back to sleep, like, just chill. You know, labor takes a while, so you'll be all right. Just get some rest. Well, Judah was like, nah, it ain't like that. Like, I'm ready to go. And so about 4 o'clock, she's already, like, probably 9 centimeters dilated, ready to go. And I called the midwife and I'm like, hey, are you, you know, almost here? She's like ready to go. And she's like, maybe like 15 minutes, I'll be there. And so my wife gets in the tub and she's like screaming in pain. And she's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. Like, I don't know if he's going to come out, and I'm like, whatever, right? And I look down there and I see his head.
Wow.
And I'm like,
hello, Dad.
He's right there. And mind you, he's underwater. This is a totally different type of birth from the hospital. And I'm thinking, dang, she's not going to make it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, all right, I don't want him to drown. Like, I don't know anything about this. Like, just push him out as hard as you can. And like, let's go. Within 30 seconds, poof, just pops out so fast. It was unbelievable because
really?
I had seen my other 2 kids, like, you know, they come out slow and like, but this is in water, like, and it's submerged. And it was like, he just popped out. And so I had delivered him. It was just me and her. It was crazy.
What a crazy yet beautiful experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously, I'm sure the midwife is on voicemail, on FaceTime or whatever, right?
So I had her on speakerphone because
right.
I was like, are you almost here? And she's like, yeah, you know, I'm about 10 minutes away now. And I go, babe, just wait 10 minutes. She's almost
just
here.
Hold it together.
Yeah, just hold him in. And she's like, I can't. And the midwife literally goes, I don't think I'm going to make it in time.
Wow.
And I go, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do it. Like, there's no one else. It's me.
Before we get into the whole business stuff, which, you know, why we're here, by the way,
yeah.
I think there's something to this. So, I don't know, I would have been, you get in the car, babe, you go in the hospital, but your wife is adamant that she was going to have the home birth, right?
Yeah.
So, my gosh, I couldn't even put myself in your experience, because seeing what my wife went through was traumatic as it was, but to birth one of my kids.
Yeah.
Man. But again, what a beautiful experience. And for you, that's a very bonding moment for all 3 of you.
Yeah.
And Jonah, you said?
Judah,
I'm sorry. Judah,
Yep.
no biblical name.
But now, I mean, for me, anytime I meet other dads, the first thing I'm gonna ask them is like, have you delivered your own kid though? Because if you haven't, then it's just like,
I can't hang out with you.
yeah, there's not, what do you say to that?
Oh, well, listen, congratulations. This is new news. This is one of the reasons why. I don't know even if you've spoken about it on any other podcast yet.
No, not
I know
yet.
you got your own stuff going on.
This is actually the first day I'm back at work.
Wow.
Yep.
And you come and see me. It only
I don't
goes
know why, but yeah, I'm back.
Downhill fast.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of shit talk on this podcast. As you can see, I know that he's got a few things up his sleeve. But for the audience that are watching, outside of, having that feather to your hat of home birth dad,
Yep.
how would you describe Ryan Pineda, and who is Ryan Pineda?
As I've gotten older, it's always changed. My identity was always kind of in something different as my career was going on. But like you, I was an athlete. I played pro baseball for many years. I got drafted by the Oakland A's, who are now going to be the Las Vegas A's. So it's kind of full circle.
Yeah.
So, for me, for most of my my entire life up until, my mid to late 20s, I was an athlete. And during that time, I wasn't making any money in the minor leagues. It's probably very similar to like what bodybuilding's like until you get to the big time, right? So I wasn't making any money and I had to become an entrepreneur. That was the only way to continue playing while also providing. And so I got into real estate and started as a realtor and hated that. Eventually I became a house flipper and, that became very successful. To this point, I flipped, I think probably over 600 homes now. And, that led to a whole bunch of other businesses and entrepreneurial things. As my career in business has gone on, my mind has been open to all these different new opportunities. And so for me, I get in businesses that like I personally use. I'm like, wow, like this is cool. I want to do this. Like I understand how it works. And so, at this point I've founded 6 different businesses that are doing 7-8 figures a year. And, I decided to get on social media a few years ago and, it's blown up. And, over the last 3 years, we've gotten almost 1 billion views online. So, yeah, I do a lot of things at this point.
Yeah. But again, how much you think an athlete, you being that high, being a professional athlete, has forged you to be a better entrepreneur? Is it correlations?
Oh, for sure. You would know. It's like being a great entrepreneur involves a lot of discipline. It involves coaching. It involves being a good leader. It involves doing really hard things that nobody else is willing to do. And so for me, anytime we face adversity, it's like whatever. That's what sports is about. You're facing adversity every day, just getting used to competing. And so it doesn't really matter whether you're competing in a game or the gym or the marketplace. Competition is a good thing.
Yeah, and I attest to that, my friend. That like bodybuilding has taught me so many of my life's lessons as well. Kind of like you said, the unseen, the work that is put on. And you and I are on camera a lot.
Yeah.
So it's the unseen of not being watched. It's the unseen of doing the things that, we could probably get away with, but because of our mindsets, this is what really has made us.
Yeah, 100%.
Earlier on in the entrepreneurial career of yours, you started flipping couches.
Yeah.
I know this is a story that you've told many times, but truly, I want the viewers to understand that you are self-made, and everything that you've done, you have grinded, you have put your heart back to front and chased down all these opportunities from a few $100 now to millions of dollars. You've gone through each change and leveled up as years have gone on. But couch flipping is what really caught my attention.
Yeah. When I got on social media, I was already pretty established. Like I had flipped all these homes and I was a multimillionaire. And so I already had a lot of success by the time I started going on social media talking about it. But as I was making content one day, I was like, man, I'm out of ideas. What should I talk about? And I just remembered this thing I used to do, before I flipped houses, and it was couch flipping. I was like, I'm just going to make a video about this because I think it's going to help somebody. Little did I know early on in my social media career that was going to be what blew up and really put me on the map. It was like my first true viral video. And I was like, wow, this is what people are resonating with, because it was a unique thing that nobody had ever heard before. They're like, what? You flipped couches? I don't get it. And I literally walked him through it step by step. I'm like, here's what I would do. These were the couches I bought. This was the color. This is how I cleaned them. These are like literally what I wrote in the descriptions. You know, it's very detailed. And then, you know, for me, that was actually my first successful business and first time ever making like good money. You know, I built it to making $8,000 a month. And to me, that was like an amazing amount of money.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I did it, a lot of people were, well, when I made the video, a lot of people were like, BS, dude, you can't do that. Like, that's not true. Well, you know, fast forward a couple years later, lots of people have made, you know, videos and remakes and all these things. And I've seen so many people are like, oh, dude, like, I quit my job. I make $10,000 a month. Like, I bought my first rental property. Yeah, I spend more time with my family. Like, dude, it changed my life. And so it's crazy, like, to see the success. I mean, there's people making 20, 30 grand a month doing it now.
Wasn't it true that you found like a group that was like a couch flipping group?
Yeah, dude. One day somebody sent me this group and they're like, dude, there's like a couch flipping mastermind. I was like, no way. And so I went and joined it in Facebook. Yeah. And
I bet they shit.
Oh, dude. So they approved me and I just make a post. And I was just like, hey, guys, like, you know, I love that you guys are masterminding, getting better at couch flipping. And dude, it's awesome to see all the success stories in here. And literally, dude, comments went nuts. They're like, oh, my gosh, it's the GOAT. It's the dude, it was like LeBron walked into the arena. They were like, this is our hero. This is like the guy.
Because probably nobody's speaking about it at that point in time. I mean,
no, I mean, I didn't invent it, but like,
you made it a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, other people have flipped furniture before.
So talk to me now, the levels. You went from couch flipping to what was the next stage?
House flipping. Yeah.
House flip. So how hard was it? Because listen, you know, I kind of are privy to the story. You know, financially, you were still kind of getting on your feet. This was everything that you were doing at the time, but you knew that the next level was to get into real estate, right? So how do you go about that, and how did you then transition from couch flipping into real estate?
Yeah, you know, I had done couch flipping for about a year, and during that time, I was just completing our first year of marriage. So we were celebrating our 1-year anniversary, and, you know, I was praying, and I was like, God, you know, like, I'm super grateful that I'm actually a good provider for my wife, because when we got married, I was like, I don't really know how I'm going to provide. Like, I was doing crazy things like substitute teaching to make $90 a day.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you teaching?
Well, dude, here in Clark County, you just freaking, like, you get approved. They have an app, and then you look on what's available that day. So every morning I'd wake up at like 6, and I'd be like, what job is open? And I would pick the closest school that was next to my house. Yeah. And then I would just show up and freaking take roll, and that was it.
Any crazy stories from them substitution days?
Dude, I had a lot. I'll just say, I don't know the best way to say this without sounding
Rip
weird.
The Band-Aid off. This is my podcast, Straight Outta The Lair.
The thing I didn't like about substitute teaching was I was still young, so I looked really young. I mean, I was 23, 24.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a beard back then. The beard is new for me. You know, it's all that testosterone.
I know.
So, so anyways, I looked like I was still 20. And so I would come in to substitute teach or walk through the school, and people didn't even know like I was a teacher. They thought like maybe I was a student, especially in high school. And then like, you know, I'd be the substitute teacher, and dude, the girls just would go nuts. And it was just like so embarrassing, just like trying to take roll and like deal with this.
Yeah. And
I'm like, guys, I'm just like here to like cash a check and be done. But like, it was nuts. Like, just like taking pictures and like all this stuff. Like, dude, actually somebody had posted this. I saw it on Twitter the other day. Some girl, I mean, this would have been 10 years ago. She posted a picture of me as a sub, and she goes, you'll never believe this, but, you know, hot substitute, whatever, is now like this big multimillionaire. It's crazy. And I was just like, this is like, how did you even still have this picture from 10 years ago?
Yeah, you know,
it's just me like sitting at the desk. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So that was a weird thing. But, dude, I mean,
hustling.
That's
what he was saying. You're doing anything.
Yeah, I was hustling just to make money because I didn't know about couch flipping. I didn't know about house flipping. I just didn't have any other way to make money. And so to me, substitute teaching was fine because I was like, oh, that's an easy job. Freaking $90. I can still go practice, get my workouts in, all that stuff. And then, with couch flipping, we're on our 1 year anniversary and I'm praying and I'm like, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Because I'm not going to like flip furniture forever. Like I know I'm destined for more than that. And, I heard him like very clearly say real estate. And for me, part of that story that I didn't mention was that I became a realtor like 5 years prior. I got my real estate license in 2010. So I'd been dabbling in it,
Right.
but I sucked. I was a terrible realtor. And so I hated real estate. I actually felt like I had failed.
How can you be a terrible realtor? In what sense? Just describe what you weren't good at.
I mean, everything. So I couldn't get clients because I just didn't know how to market. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's
so
fucking number one.
That's
right
number
there.
one, right?
You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. Well, but number two was even when I got a client, I wasn't good at like, I mean, I knew what a deal was and everything, but I wasn't a good like people person. I'm like,
blows my mind.
Well, I'm like, Flex. Well, here's why. I'm like, Flex, this is what you told me you want. It's good. Yeah. Let's put an offer. And you're like, no. And in my mind, I'm just like, dude, I'm not dealing with this. Like, you're wishy-washy. You're not serious. I don't want to do it. That's why.
You need thick skin, bro, for that stuff.
I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So after a couple of years, I gave up. I was like, I had a license, but I gave up. So when I heard God telling me getting back into real estate, I'm thinking, real estate? I already failed at that. Like, think about what I had failed at to this point. I failed at real estate. I'd already been released by the Oakland A's, so my baseball career wasn't where I thought it was. I just now finally started to have a little bit of success, flipping couches. I was a terrible substitute teacher, right? So at this point, I'm like, and by the way, too, I also applied for real jobs and couldn't get one, So everything to this point forced me into entrepreneurship. I just didn't have a choice. I didn't grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to play baseball. And, by the time, we were 1 year in marriage, though, I did hear God tell me, like, get it back into real estate. But this time, I want you on the investing side. And so, through a long string of events, I had multiple signs, and it led me down the path of finding these books and other things. And I was like, I get it. I can definitely flip houses. I had this misconception that you needed all this money saved up. You needed all this cash money to go flip a house. And the truth is you don't. You don't really need any money.
Tell us about that, because obviously this is your audience.
Yeah, so as a realtor, they tell you, hey, the investors, they just buy all cash. Like, that's the only way to get a good deal. And at that time, that's what I believed. And I also thought, well, the only other way to get a deal or a house is through a loan. You just get a 30-year loan, and you got to have good credit. You got to have tax returns. You got to have, job history. I didn't have any of that. I was flipping couches, So I'm like, I can't qualify for a loan and I don't have cash. There's no way I can get into this business. Well, after that, encounter, I realized like, no, that's not true. There are private investors you can go find who will fund your deals. There are these guys called hard money lenders that lend money, they're at higher interest rates, but like they will fund your deals regardless of that. And I was like, wow, I could actually do this if I find a deal. So I went home and I was like, babe, I'm going to flip houses. Like, I already knew how to find deals. My problem when I was a realtor wasn't that I couldn't find deals. It was that I just hated working with clients and I couldn't find clients and I couldn't like convince them to buy the deal. So I go, if I'm my own client, I'll find as many deals as possible. So, a couple months later, I found my first deal and I got a hard money loan. At the time, I didn't know any private lenders, so I maxed out all my credit cards. My wife and I, we maxed out $50,000 worth of credit cards. And I bought my first flip. And, thankfully it worked out. A couple of months later, we sold it and made 25 grand. And I was like, this is easy. Like, give me one of these a month and we'll be set. And
how many couches have you had to flip for 25,000?
I mean, that's 3 months worth of couches.
Wow.
And I got it in one deal. So, it was I'd have to get a lot of couches. No, but to be clear too, though, during that first year, I was still flipping couches because I still needed to pay the bills. Yeah. Like I didn't know if it was going to work. And in house flipping, you don't get paid for months, right? You don't know when it's going to sell. So I was still flipping those couches.
So when you took that profit, did you then I'm guessing interest rates were zero. I guess in the credit cards, right?
No, honestly, dude, back then, rates were 5 to 6. Okay. I mean, like, my whole real estate career since 2010, rates were always 4 to 6.
Right.
So, like, in this environment we're in today where people think they're high, I'm like, I mean, not really. They're pretty normal historically.
That's what I was going to ask you. But going back to the, the real estate and flipping, you took that first profit, and when you put that profit, did you then pay off cards, or did you keep them cards maxed?
I bought a yacht. No, I didn't. So
bought some rims for the car.
I bought some spinners.
Yeah. Bodybuilding 101, that is, mate.
So no, I just bought another deal. I kept my credit cards maxed out for years.
Right.
Yeah, because first off, those credit cards I got 0% interest for like
that's
12 or 18 months.
0% interest
so I'm like,
in cards.
dude, I'm gonna just run this as many times, right? And even then, once it was over, I still looked at it. And I was like, all right, I'm basically getting charged 1% a month to borrow this money, but it's, if I have $50K in debt, that's $500 a month that I'm paying. Yeah. It's not a lot of money, and it's going to help me go get a deal that's going to make me $25,000. So I'm gonna spend $2,000 in interest to make $25,000. Like, why would I pay these off?
So for somebody that's watching, or somebody that's wanting to get into this world right now, what would be 101 of getting into real estate? What would be your advice?
Look, there's lots of ways to get into real estate. Most people think they got to be a realtor. Not true. You could flip, like what I'm talking about. You could do something called wholesaling, which is even easier. With wholesaling, you just find a deal, and you don't have to buy it. You don't have to fix it up. You don't have to do anything. You just got to find somebody like me who will buy the deal from you and pay you a fee. So, I mean, I've paid wholesalers $1,000, and I've paid them $250,000, like depending on the deal. The house I live in today, a wholesaler actually found it, and he made like $215,000 on the wholesale fee to me. So, like wholesaling is amazing. And then you can buy rentals. I mean, rentals are great. We have over 500 rentals that we manage. And, at the end of the day, with rentals, I mean, they're long-term wealth. That people do have a misconception that, I'm going to get enough passive income to never work again. If I just get 10 rentals, 20 rentals, it's like they've never had a rental. Like, rentals don't really give you that. You get repairs, you get vacancy, you get all this crap, and then you're like, where did my cash flow go? The purpose of rentals is for the appreciation and the tax benefits. That's why the rich people buy rentals. It's not for the cash flow. Now, if you hold your rentals long enough, 10 years later, then sure, your cash flow is going to be really good because rents will have risen so much. But more than likely, even in that scenario, you're probably going to have refied at some point and pulled some cash out, and so now it doesn't even cash flow again. But you got all this cash out that's tax-free from your refinance. So rentals are great. It just depends, right? Like, to not, I guess I'll go somewhat deep, but I have a philosophy that I teach, okay? It's called make, manage, multiply, okay? Every person's goal who's getting into business starts in the make stage. And the goal is, how do I make $250K? That should be the goal. Because anything less than $250K, I mean, in today's world, dude, $250K's kind of where you need to be to like live pretty good. If you got kids, you got a spouse, $250K is what you need. And you need to get a skill that can make $250K. So if you were to say, Ryan, I want to buy rental properties right away, the first thing I would ask you, I'd be like, so how much do you make right now? And you're like, oh, well, I don't really, whatever. I'm like, then you shouldn't buy rentals. You're trying to solve for the wrong problem. You're trying to build long-term wealth when you're still broke. You don't build long-term wealth when you're broke. You figure out how to not be broke, okay? Because what's going to change your life? $200 a month from a rental, or making $20,000 a month? Yeah. $20,000. So let's figure out how to get that skill. And so that's why I tell people, I'm like, the rentals will come. Let's first get you to $20,000 a month. So let's flip. Let's wholesale. Those are two ways to get there. From there, once you get that skill, the next stage is manage. Okay, cool. I have this skill. How do I scale it? How do I get it to 7 figures? And so with the manage stage, you're learning something completely different. Now you're learning how to hire people and manage. It has nothing to do with flipping and wholesaling or running a gym. Well, running a gym has managed, but if you were a realtor or any of these skills where maybe you're just a solopreneur, a gym trainer, right? You're just a trainer. You just do your own thing. In the managed stage, you've got to actually learn how to run a business. So it's maybe like the trainer who now opens a gym, right? Now I got employees, I got all this crap, so I got to deal with this. Once you get past the managed stage, then it's to multiply. And multiply is once you're past 7 figures, okay, you're making money, your business is growing. What do you want to do to multiply the money you're making? Do you want to invest? Do you want to double down on the business? Do you want to, start a new business? That's how people have to think about the progression if they're going to be an entrepreneur.
So for somebody who has zero money, what was the direction you would go there? Zero money down. That's kind of like the new thing.
Flip or wholesale.
Flip or wholesale.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a wide audience here of entrepreneurs all the way down to first-time investors. So I'm trying to cover every basis. And one thing that you've done amazingly, my friend, is put out videos, content, covering so many different topics, different genres. You've interviewed so many incredible people in this field, along with many others. For everybody who hasn't been or hasn't followed or doesn't know Ryan, and for those who do, you will attest that your whole Instagram has really been a how-to, get into, etc.
Yeah.
And that in itself is very commendable, because you're creating wealth for other people that in some cases you'll never even met.
Yeah.
Or will meet.
Yep.
And I think that's a powerful tool. And I'm sure now these stories, as the years are going on, and the more events that you're putting on, which I want to talk about, you're hearing these stories where they first seen you and how they came about. And I think it must be very rewarding to hear how you've truly changed somebody's financial wealth just through putting out YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's crazy how powerful social media is, right? Because when we throw a lot of events, and one of our events is called WealthCon. So we'll have over 1,000 people there every quarter. And, when people come up to me, I've obviously never met most of them. And they're like, bro, you changed my life. This video did this. I just flipped my first house. I just, did this. I spend more time with my family now. And so it's super rewarding just knowing like this technology that we have that never used to exist. The fact is, you and I can get on here right now and spend an hour and just chat it up and give good value, and thousands of people will see it who we don't even know who's watching or how it's impacting them. Mm-hmm. And it's a crazy tool, because it used to be, if you really wanted to impact somebody before this, you had to go meet them for coffee, go meet them face to face. And it's like, cool, I can impact one person. Yeah. But now we can impact millions.
I know that there's a lot of people, like our mutual friend, Alex Amosi, has done a phenomenal job of doing videos where they connect with the audience, truly giving so much worth in these videos for these, for the viewers to truly, take back and go, wow, this is something I've had for free. But yet when, Alex puts out a book or he does everything else, man, that thing is sold out. And I think that you guys, 2 different genres, yes, but I see both of you being in the same kind of realm of just content, and just really good content at that. So different topics, I said, all the way from real estate to investing in multiple different things, but it's all tailored around changing your life.
Yeah.
And wealth doesn't mean, what is wealth to you? Describe that.
So, I wrote a book called Wealthy Way, and it's been a bestseller in the business space and entrepreneurship space. And that's kind of like all of our brands are wealthy related. But, in the book, we talk about this. Like, to me, wealth is not just money. Wealth is, being fulfilled in all aspects of life. And so, like, we even created an acronym for wealth to help people understand it. So it's like, you take the word wealth, W stands for worship. Like, you've got to be spiritually filled, because if you're not, you're going to have a void. Okay. E is for education. Hey, we got to constantly be growing. We want to be learning more every single day. A is for affluence. All right. That's finance. That's money. Wealth definitely involves money, obviously. L is for lifestyle, right? If you're a slave to your job, are you really wealthy? No matter how much money you make? No. Like, you've got to live the lifestyle you want. If you want a vacation X amount of times a year, if you want to, go in the office from these hours, that's what lifestyle is all about. T is for team. So, that'd be your relationships. How strong is your marriage? How strong, or how good of a parent are you, right? Like, that's wealth. If you're making money and you're a crappy parent, I wouldn't say you're wealthy. I'd be like, you make money, but I wouldn't, be happy in your place, right? And then the last one, H, for health. If anybody who's experienced losing their health will tell you, they're like, I would trade anything for good health right now, right? So, in the end, if you're lacking in any one of those elements, you're going to be unhappy. You just will be, right? And I see it on social media all the time, right? Where there are a lot of people who, man, maybe they're super strong, and a couple of them, they're like, dude, freaking, I'm like stacked like Flex Lewis, and, my money's good. And then I'll be like, how are your relationships? Oh, yeah, like I'm divorced. Okay. What's up with the kids? Yeah, I don't see them that much because I'm busy working. I'm like, all right, well, good luck, Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's been the message of, we're not competing in a game of who can make the most money or who can get the most views. We're competing in a game of, really just yourself, and how do you basically maintain this balance? Because there are people who will tell you like, oh no, you can't have balance. There's no way. And it's like, well, either way, it's still like a score on the scorecard, whether you choose to accept it or not. Mm-hmm. The scorecard is there, right? Whether you want to just like not play that game, that's fine, but you're going to feel the effects of it as a human. There's no other way around it.
But you mentioned family many times, even off camera. You and I are very, well, that's our core, right? That is everything for us. You have a line in the sand when it comes to business, and you have a line in the sand when it comes to family time. And that's one of the things I admire about you. Even when we've been speaking out of hours and stuff, you'd be like, hey, I'll hit you up later on, and you obviously explain why, but it's family time. And I am that guy. And even every Saturday, I have family day. I don't think about anything else but that. Obviously, if I'm traveling, it's a different thing. But how do you find that balance, being as successful you are, having all these multiple different companies, multiple, I don't know how many employees you have, but I know it's in the figures.
Yeah.
How do you able to balance business and family?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned employees. That's key number one. If you're a solopreneur, everything's relying on you, right? So it's hard to have balance when you're doing everything solo yourself.
Solopreneur.
And so for me, the only reason I'm able to do it is, number one, employees. We have over 100 employees across all the companies, and they're great. They are doing the work. I mean, right now I'm here with you, but there's work being done. There's sales being made. There's things being fulfilled. So, you got to have great employees, and that starts with having a great leadership team. We have great, I have great partners. I have great leaders, managers. They're accountable. They're hungry. We have great culture. And so because of that, it allows me the freedom to do what I want.
By design.
Yeah, by design, lifestyle, right? And here's also the thing. For me, like, I was happy when I was flipping couches. Like, even though I knew I could accomplish more, I was like very grateful for how much money I thought I was rich, to be honest. I'm like, dude, I'm making $8,000 a month. This is crazy. And no matter how much money we've made, I've always been like, I'm rich, right? And, even when I was playing minor league baseball, I was making $7,000 a year. Okay.
Wow, that's it.
That's it. That's all I made. And so in the off season, I had to go substitute teach. I mean, like, truthfully, between substitute teaching and minor league baseball, I probably made like $15,000 a year.
And you were looking after yourself and your wife.
Yeah. And so people are like, I don't know, when people just talk about money and stuff, I never complained like, oh, I'm broke, freaking my life sucks and whatever. And I was just like content. I'm like, yo, this is just part of the plan. Like, this is what we're doing now, and hopefully I get to the bigs, and like that's the goal. It didn't work out that way. It actually worked out better for me because I can do this the rest of my life, right? Versus sports, you have a cap. But I think it comes down to, even during that time, I was never like a workaholic where I was like, dude, I need to just like grind out every moment because I need to make more money. Money was never the goal, right? Money just was a byproduct of being innovative and working hard and looking at new opportunities. So, when I think about this life that I have today, in the Wealthy Way book, I talk about, I go, hey, I work at the office from 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday. That's when I work. And on Fridays, I go golf. On weekends, I'm just hanging with the fam. Nobody goes to the office on the weekends. It's not even open. And then at night, I'm just hanging out with my kids and everything. And then before I go to work, I'm doing all my me time. I'm working out, I'm praying, I'm reading my Bible. I'm just getting all my me time in. And so this is the lifestyle by design that I want to live. Those are my parameters at which I've set for myself. And here's the thing. When you give yourself constraints, okay, and you set a game plan that you are, one, going to be very happy and fulfilled with. Two, it actually can lead to the success and goals that you want to hit. And three, it's actually like a doable plan and like that will last long term. You're going to have success, right? Because there are people who will be like, yeah, I'll work 80-hour weeks. And it's like, all right, well, let's see how long you can do it before you burn out. Let's see how long you can do it before your health deteriorates. Let's see how long you can do it before you lose your marriage, right? They're not sustainable plans. So for me, I always played the long game of it, of like, I'm going to build something that's sustainable, and that way I'll just outlast everyone. Like there are people that shoot up all the time and then they're gone, right? Because they don't have a sustainable plan. They're sprinting for a marathon. Life is a marathon. There's no sprint here. Like life's long. So, having that framework of like, I want to do something that I can sustain. Now, are you going to be able to do that right off the bat? No. For people who are trying to build it, maybe you don't even have a family right now. Great. You don't have to worry about that. So you can work more. That's cool. But, for me, there's lots of business opportunities I could do to make a lot of money. I could make way more money if I chose to work more, but it's just not important to me. And it never has been. And so, the interesting case study that we're going to watch the next 10 years is, can I live the wealthy way and still achieve the same goals as everyone else? And that'll be the interesting case study because, people say, well, you can't be a billionaire if you don't like put in the work. And like, it's a very common thing. And I sit there look at it, and I'm like, I don't believe that. I believe up to this point, I have not ever worked 80-hour weeks, and I've gotten to this point. So why wouldn't I get to the next point? And so it brings you to the idea of, well, what's this guy doing differently then? Why can he do that when other people are saying it's not possible? Well, I'll tell you, when you put constraints on yourself, there's something called Parkinson's law. And basically what Parkinson's law says is, if you give yourself a limit, you will figure out how to get it done within those constraints. So like when you look at a kid in high school, freaking English teacher, says, hey, the homework is due next Friday. What do? Thursday night, they get it done. But what if you said the homework is literally due tomorrow? What happens? If you're a good student, you're going to get it done tonight so you can get it turned in. Parkinson's law works the same way. If we say, hey, our workday is like 15 hours. I'm going to get in at 8. I'm going to leave at 10. All right, well, you will take 15 hours to get done, whatever it is you want to get done. But if you say, look, I only got 6 hours, you will come to one of two conclusions. One, like you'll innovate and figure out a way to get it done, because there is a way to get it done.
Absolutely.
Or two, you'll say, there is a way to get it done, but financially or resource-wise, it's not possible yet, but I know what I'm working towards. Because basically what happens is, if I say, hey, I want all my businesses to reach these goals and everything else, the way I look at it is like, well, yeah, it's impossible to do it if I have to do all the work, but let me hire people who can do the work that needs to be done to hit our goals. And then now let me start to think about, what are the optimal things I can do in my workday that bring us the highest ROI? Like, what is the best bang for my buck? And like literally, that's the plan I followed for years, and it just continues to exponentially grow by just being very efficient with my time. And also too, I don't get burnt out because like I'm just kind of like coasting.
You got systems in place, you got people in place, and takes care of that.
Yeah.
Your team, and listen, for the viewers that haven't seen this podcast, I went on the Ryan Pineda show, which is now turned into
Wealthy Way Podcast.
Yep. And I was blown away, my friend. Blown away just by how much real estate you've taken in this office block, by the way. This whole floor is mine. This direction is, again, walking into your offices and seeing what you've created, and everything kind of has its own section, right? It reminded me a lot of Google. There was areas that you could just workflow free, stand up, sit down, go into a certain creative area, creative space. And again, you have a lot of different, lot of walks of life in that room. When I go in, I kind of scale around, look around, see what's going on. There's no kind of genre there. You got people of all ethnicities. How key is it to have that workforce team? And what was the first hire you done?
I mean, the team is huge, right? I mean, as we scale, what I've realized is, yeah, we can obviously make the products and everything more efficient, but it's always going to come down to manpower. How many more people can you get? Because typically to scale a business, you just keep doing more of what you're doing. It's like, man, if we wanted to go open more Dragon's Lairs, like, what do we got to do? I mean, we just got to hire more people, right? It's just more of the same model. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've realized like one of our big things is we got to continue to get better at recruiting. Recruiting is like one of our big, things to work on. But with my first hire, this was back in like 2017, I hired a project manager to start doing my flips. And intuitively, nobody told me this, but I just realized, I was like, man, I'm spending so many hours checking on these projects. Like, this is such a waste of time because I don't make any money doing this. I make money when I find deals. And so it just occurred to me, I'm like, why don't I just go get deals and let somebody else do this? And so I hired a project manager. It didn't cost me a lot of money. And then boom, I just gained all this time. And then guess what? Our deals doubled. And I'm like, wow, I pay this guy a couple $1,000 a month to go just check a couple of properties. And now I'm going to make $50K more this month because of all that time gained. And, then I started doing it with everything. I'm like, I'm not listing my properties anymore. I'm a realtor and I'm licensed. I could save the money. This is a big mistake entrepreneurs make. They're like, oh, I could do it myself. I could fix it myself. I could do this. And it's like, well, yeah, you could. I could do a lot of things, but how much can I pay somebody to go do it for me? And if what I can pay them is less than what my time is worth doing other things, I should pay them 1,000% of the time.
How fast did your team build up in that process?
2018 was the first year I was fully retired from baseball. And so that year I was like, all right, I'm going to take business serious. Like, 'cause at that point I'd probably already flipped 50 houses while I was playing.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. So I'd flipped a lot of homes while playing baseball, which actually taught me delegation because guess what? I'm faced with a constraint like we're talking about. And the constraint was this: go play baseball and, basically not flip houses while you play, or figure out a way to do both. And so I said, well, I'm going to keep flipping houses because that makes good money. And I still want to play baseball because I love the game. How do I do both? Well, I got to go hire somebody to check on the houses and, look at new deals and all this stuff. So I naturally understood how to have it all, essentially. I was like, I'm not going to quit baseball just because I'm flipping houses. I can do both. And so the same thing is true today with all these businesses I run. It's like, how do you do them all? Because I want to, and I'm going to figure out how to actually make it happen. You start to get creative when you have constraints. When you have no constraints, you have no innovation. Because think about it. The most innovative things in the world come from certain constraints you might have, right? You might have capital constraints. So you're like, all right, we got to find a way to do this better because there's just no way we can do it with the budget that we need, right? And so that's how you see these little companies beat these big companies because guess what? The big company, yeah, they got millions of dollars, but they're inefficient because they just blow the money. They don't have a constraint. Another innovation comes from time constraint. You're like, oh man, dude, we only have a week to get this done. Well, guess what? It usually takes a month, so we better get really innovative figuring out how to get this done in a week. And so constraints are a really good thing.
Is there any tools and tricks that you've done to put that added pressure on yourself? Like, for example, for me, procrastination is a tool that, it's not
a tool.
No, procrastination is something that's always been something that I've, succumbed to. So now I've used certain tools. Like, for example, easy one, I put all my clocks in the house 10 minutes faster.
Okay.
And you could say, well, flex, I know the real time. But for me, I look at the time and I'm out the door. So there's certain things like that, which ultimately, as small as that is the biggest, especially when you've got, in our world, right? People prompt, they have time, they don't have the time to give. The extra 5 minutes is a business deal won or lost. So
Yep.
what are the tips and tricks you have that keep you into that pressure of that, what you call constraint?
Well, I think when you're talking about constraints, you set them from the beginning, right? So for me, it's like, all right, this is my constraint per week, right? And so I already told you guys my schedule. So it's very easy now that I know this is the schedule I want, these are the constraints I'm willing to work under, cool. How do I make it the most efficient I can, right? That's number one. Number two, okay, let's talk financial constraints. Like there's a budget for everything. Like even though you've made a lot of money, you can just give it all away tomorrow. So, all right, this is the budget for this marketing. This is the budget for this overhead. How do we make all this work, right? We got to get innovative. And so like you just got to plan it out. Now for somebody who's a procrastinator, I think Parkinson's law, like I was talking about, is the key, right? If you can truly convince yourself there is a deadline, not the real deadline, but like your deadline, you'll get it done, right? Because you're like, I can't procrastinate. So what might need to happen is you need to figure out, how can I just get more on my schedule so I have no choice but to do this, right? So for me, like literally my schedule is always jam-packed for the 4 days I'm in the office, because guess what? I'm like, I got big goals, right? I'm not trying to just chill. I'm trying to like do business deals, make connections, freaking make great content, all these things. And so I got to figure out, how does this all fit?
So you have 4 days. That's your work week, 4 days.
Yeah.
Carry on, because I want to circle back to that. That's fun. I mean, listen, anybody watching that's like a bodybuilder's dream, let's be honest. 4-day work week?
Yeah.
What is that? I can train the rest of the time? No.
Well, yeah. So we could talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, look, if you don't have constraints, that means you have nothing going on, right? As far as time goes, right? Because probably if you have a lot of time, you probably don't have a lot of money, right? That's what, because people who have money and stuff, they're usually busy like doing things to make more money. Like they understand the skill of making money. Because even like, even if you take like a billionaire or something, they're busy. Like they're just busy doing other things. They're busy on vacation or like doing whatever billionaires do. I'm not a billionaire, so I don't know. But, right?
Soon.
That like millionaires and business owners are busy. You just are like, yeah, these guys are ultra busy. I am busy, even though it doesn't sound like I'm busy, because you're like, well, you only work 4 days a week. So like, you're technically not that busy. And it's like, no, it's all busy. It's just doing different things.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm busy playing golf. You don't have to play golf. Well, I want to.
Some of the best deals are done on the golf course.
100%. I actually was just golfing with 2 guys last Friday, and like, that could be a huge partnership. We'll see. So, I spend a lot of time doing things that I just personally enjoy, and it makes me busy, even though it doesn't make me money. But there's not times where it's like, dude, I don't know what I'm about to do for the next 2 hours. Like, I have nothing to do. And that's where people get inefficient.
Yeah. And that's where procrastination takes over, and there's so many things that get lost in that shuffle. But listen, for your success, most of anybody who's driven and successful and is levels above anybody else, there's trauma associated with it. What is that trauma for you?
I've had a lot of trauma. I would say the first real trauma, and I might say the only time in my life I've ever been depressed, was in spring training of 2013. So, I was going into my 4th year with the Oakland A's. I was 23 or 24 years old, and they called me into the office. And when you get called in the office, you kind of know what's about to go down. And, they called me in the office, and I don't even remember what they said because it was just like a blur. But the essence of it was, hey, what I heard was, hey, you're not good enough. We're going to have to let you go. That was the essence of it. And so you got to remember, man, when you're 23, 24, and you've trained your whole life, and everything is going according to plan. You're an All-American. You get drafted. You're moving up each year. you're like, dude, this is going exactly the way I thought it would go. This is great. And then it's gone. And your identity's wrapped up in that. And I also had no skills. Like I literally had no skills. I had failed as a realtor. I hadn't even flipped couches yet. Like I was also engaged, about to get married. So I had all these things going on, and I was like really lost for the first time. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so that was the first time I really felt depressed. And obviously I got through it. I kept playing. You know, I got signed by a different team and continued my career for another 5 years, actually. But that was tough. You know, another time of trauma was with just like going through my first string of losses, flipping houses. You know, I think I flipped probably 80 homes before I ever had a loss. And, you know, I had my first loss and I was like, whatever, you know, pretty good, 1 out of 80. And then in 2018, the market turned a little bit and I had 70 flips going on at once. And so I had a lot of losses. And that was my first time, like between all those losses, I probably lost over $1 million. And at that time, I did not have the money because you don't plan to lose $1 million, right? Like you're running your business, anticipating you're going to make money on these deals, right? Or break even maybe, but not like literally pay money to sell the homes, right? So that was a super difficult time in my entrepreneurial career, figuring out, man, how the heck am I going to cover this? But guess what? A new constraint entered my life of like, yo, this is the situation. You're going to run out of money. You got to do something different. And then I innovated and figured out, oh man, we need to wholesale more. We need to, you know, have other streams of income. We need to, you know, do X, Y, Z, right? And, you know, I got through it. And, you know, even throughout my business career, you know, I've had to shut businesses down. I've had bad partnerships. You know, I've lost money on deals. Like I've been, whatever, on social media. People talk crap and just deal with all, you know, everything that comes with it. So there's been lots and lots of traumas. But what I can tell you is the biggest growth you ever have in your life is from the trauma. It's never from the success. Like the success is kind of like you're just rolling and you're like, this is great. And then it stops. And you're like, what happened? How do I rediscover that form I used to have? Like what happened? This happens with my golf game all the time. I'm like, where did my swing go? Dude, I was just cranking it, and then all of a sudden, I can't hit it straight.
Is that just an excuse to get you out there more?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I need more reps. I need that 10,000 hours, they say. So, yeah, you know, trauma leads to growth, man. So you just got to learn to embrace it.
Trauma does lead to growth. Obviously, you know, I've taken a lot of losses and talk about them with, you know, as a badge of honor. It truly taught me, you know, a lesson. And, you know, I put my situation into my faith. And you speak very highly, as you have done since I've met you, about your faith and how now you walk in. Well, again, I think you now speak more about your faith than I've ever seen you speak about your faith. What is it about your faith and business that has taken you to these new levels?
Yeah, you know, I grew up in the church. So, you know, it's not like I'm new to Christianity or Jesus. Like I've been this way for a long time. But yeah, I think when I turned 33, it's funny because my wife, Mindy, goes to me and she goes, hey, it's your Jesus year. And I was like, what does that even mean? She's like, you know, they say 33 is your Jesus year. And I go, that's when Jesus died. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? And she's like, I think this year is going to be really big for you spiritually. And she was right.
That's 23.
33.
33, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 33. And I'm 34 now. So I just completed, you know, that 33 year, and it was easily, she was right. It was easily it was the biggest year of spiritual growth in my life. And, you know, people knew I was a Christian. I mean, you go look back at content from 2020, 2021. Like I've been talking about it, but now it's like very prevalent. And
I see, yeah.
What God revealed to me through all of it was, he's like, dude, like I want you to lead the entrepreneurs and these business people and everyone, because guess what? No one else is. And I started to really think about this because if you just look on social media, you know, who are the entrepreneurs and big influencers and people that, you know, are like super public about faith, like, you know, making it happen.
Like one guy comes to my mind.
Who?
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. Great guy. He's supposed to be coming on the podcast.
Oh, fantastic.
But you know, he's an actor. So I'm thinking like, who are these YouTubers that we all know? Like who's really the guy? Right. And it just occurred to me, I was like, if not me, then who? And so once that kind of clicked, I realized this is so much bigger than whatever it is I was doing before. And like, people need to know this. And so, you know, we started a Christian group called Wealthy Kingdom. So like I said, all my brands are wealthy branded. And basically the premise was, I've been holding Bible study in my office for 5 years. So like I said, this is nothing new, but I would post about it every Wednesday when we hold it, and people would be like, can I join the Bible study? Whatever. Can I zoom in from New Jersey or any of these things? And I'm like, I wish, but no, because like we talk about private things. They're not going to be on Zoom. And it just occurred to me that like, this is such a big need in the space and there's no one doing it. And, you know, the Bible talks about that. It's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for anyone else. So it's not like the poor, the widows, the crippled, like they have much easier times accepting God because, once again, constraint. They have no choice. Like he's their only hope, and he should be. But rich people think that they've got it all figured out. They have success. They're like, why do I need God? So it's harder for the rich person to get to salvation than anyone else. And so I go, who's going to reach these people, right? First off, it's got to be someone they respect, at least on their craft and level. And it's got to be somebody who's bold enough and willing to talk about it. So anyways, I became convicted, and I started writing a daily devotional every morning. And, you know, people have loved it. And we started Wealthy Kingdom, which is pending nonprofit status. And, you know, the goal with Wealthy Kingdom is to just plant Bible studies nationwide for entrepreneurs. And we started in May. We already have planted 40 of them. So we're in 40 locations across the country. We have 60 right now that are in the queue that we're training. So we're training up these leaders to go out and lead Bible studies in their offices, at coffee shops, whatever. So we'll have over 100 Bible studies nationwide. And I think that, you know, in the coming years, I mean, we'll have, who knows how many. Plus we've already done mission trips and events and all this cool stuff. And like even at my event, WealthCon, you know, we have a full-on church service at the event, which is not normal for like these business events. Like, in fact, we haven't done this, but we're doing it at the next one. People don't know yet. I'm literally going to hold a full-on worship service, like concert. So it's going to be sweet. And, you know, once again, people can say, well, why I'm coming to a business event. Why am I hearing about this? Well, you need to, one, but also if it offends you, I don't really care. Like, you don't have to come back, or you can just skip it. Right. But, you know, long story short, I just think that with Wealthy Kingdom, you know, in the coming years, God willing, if we just do the right things, I mean, we will be the biggest like Christian business organization in the world. Like, that's just where it's headed. And to me, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, bro, that's where it's at. You know, I don't give a crap about how many more houses I flip or how many rentals I get, or, you know, you just start to realize like there's so many things that are more important.
How much have you seen your life change since, you know, you turned 33? You obviously started pouring in more into your faith, talking more about your faith. Yeah. When you say things have changed, just give an example.
I would say my perspective on life is very different. You know, I would say that I don't desire the things I used to desire. And I think a lot of that too can come from once you achieve like success. It's like, man, I've played pro baseball. I did the influencer thing. You know, I've built businesses. Like, I've achieved basically every worldly goal I could want. And so then you realize you're like, yeah, I'm going to set a new goal, but like, it doesn't do anything. Like, it's just a goal. And so you start to see the world differently, and you start to see like, for me anyways, as I get exposed to more successful people, I realize they're not saved. And I see all the problems in their life. Like it just is everything I talked about before, jacked up marriages. They feel void. And you could just see it even like with these influencers and their content. It's like they're giving all this great content and then you can just see like they're just kind of still, there's something missing.
Yeah.
And it's faith. That's what it comes down to. So to me, it's like, man, God put me on this earth and he gave me these abilities and resources and connections and the experiences I've had in order to reach these people. And I didn't know that 5 years ago because I just wasn't in this position. I didn't have influence. Yeah, I had some business success, but these guys ain't going to listen to me, right? But now I'm in rooms with billionaires and all these people and they respect me. And so I just think like my perspective is completely different on why I'm here. It's much clearer. I think that my perspective has also changed on how much more I could be doing because I think as we start to grow, our capacity increases. We're like, man, dude, I can do this. I can work harder. I can be more bold. I can reach more people. And so your confidence grows, your faith grows, and you're like, man, I'm capable of a lot of stuff if I just really believe it and I'm obedient to what he's calling me to do.
Yeah, listen, I've felt the calling more with my faith more than ever this year, to be honest with you. I think I'm also aligned more with different circles of people. Being in the world that I was in, just focused on me and a physique, you kind of take the blinders off and you realize, my gosh, life is to be lived. It's not lived around 7 meals a day, And
I'll add something to that too. I always thought when I was young, I was like, all right, sports will be my mission field. I'm going to be like Tim Tebow, right? Which, by the way, he's done an amazing job.
Incredible.
But when I look back on my sports career and I look back on all the things I was struggling with back then, it was all related to around. It wasn't about God. It was about me, right? You're like, how am I going to get better? How am I going to move up? Let's improve my physique. Let's make sure I get all my meals, right? And then guess what? When things don't go your way, you go into destructive habits. Oh, crap, bad game. Let me go watch some porn. Oh, let me go drink. Let me go. Everybody's doing drugs and it's just this very destructive lifestyle. And even, for me, it's like not that I was like this super crazy party guy like some other people, but like I was way more destructive then than I am today. And I look back on it and I now realize I'm like, yeah, God obviously put me through that for a reason to develop me into who I am, but I was never meant to just like be a baseball player. I can see that now. And I can see like, man, my life got infinitely better the moment he took it away. Like my habits got way better. There's less temptation. The identity crisis of being only known as a baseball player was done. So yeah, a lot of the things that we think are, our path are actually not. And they're actually causing us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I attest to that. How hard is it then being in business and doing at the magnitude you are doing and then potentially having a partnership that doesn't align with your morals and your integrities?
So there's a Bible verse. I think it's Matthew 10:16. And Jesus is about to send out the disciples. And he says, guys, here's the thing. You need to be as cunning as snakes, but as, I forget the word he uses, but as gentle as doves. That's one of the paraphrase translations. And basically what he means by that is, you shouldn't go around like being a snake to people. You need to be as smart as snakes. You need to understand how the world actually thinks. You can't just be gullible and naive and take everyone at their word and everything else. Like you have to be very skeptical of those around you because there's a lot of harm around you, right? But at the same time, having that awareness, you also need to be as gentle as a dove. You need to be compassionate. You need to be loving. You need to be, transparent. You got to have integrity. You got to, showcase these things that most people wouldn't do because it'd be perceived as weak, especially in business. And so, even for me, like I said, in business, not everything has gone great. We've had many failures. I've had many people upset with me. And even during that time, like I've always still had to face the music and be like, like I take ownership. Like it is what, I don't know what else to tell you. Like we'll make it better however we can, but this is what happened. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know. Like it just, right? That's what most people deny it. Like, oh, well, it wasn't my fault. This guy did that and that guy did that, right? Like, that's like, yeah, I take response. I decided to partner with that guy. I decided to whatever, right? So that's something to think about. But yeah, in terms of partnerships, man, at this point, I've had a lot of partnerships, and some started before, I ever got to this level. Some have been recent, right? And the one thing I've been just realizing and praying about was like, man, if you just reverse engineer what it is you're looking for in life, all right, you can work back from there and see if that person, it aligns with that and it's going to help you get there, right? So if at this point, I'm very clear that like, look, my goal is to grow Wealthy Kingdom and reach more entrepreneurs and Christians and do everything for that space because no one else really is. Okay. How does this new partnership align with that? Is this person going to get mad that that's my focus and, they think it might affect this business or whatever? Is this person on mission with that? Like, is he or she, like, are they like really also inspired by that? And they're like, dude, let's grow this business so that this thing can get really big, right? Like how do they fit into my overall mission? And that's the thing that, I have to think about now, especially if it's under my brand and my face and my name, So, if it's anything to do with me where I'm the face and I'm public with it, you better be aligned with my mission and what we're going to do. Now, does that mean I won't take investors or, other people? Like, no, like if they don't have control or say, it's just like, yo, you're giving us an investment, whatever, right? You've got your own deal. You know what I'm about and you're giving me your money. So like, it's on you, right? And, we still partner with companies where I'm not the face. People don't even know I own it, right? I'm only telling you guys about companies that are public that I own that But, we're also partners in the back end of other companies which are not public. And with those, we strategize, we help them build their mission, right? And, we try to amplify them. And, as long as we agree with their mission, right? I don't want to like go help strip clubs grow.
Like the strip clubs, bro?
No, like
bringing faith to strip clubs.
Yeah, but truthfully too, I've had opportunities in like gambling or marijuana or things like that, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of money here, but it doesn't align with my mission.
Yeah,
right. And so, we don't do them. But then it's like, all right, these other companies, I'm like, this is great. Or it's just neutral. It's like, we're a plumbing company. I'm like, great. Let's grow it.
How many businesses do you have in different genres? You mentioned, I know that you've got several in different things. So outside of what you already mentioned, anything interesting?
I mean, dude, I've had businesses in basically every industry you can imagine. I mean, you got real estate, tax, like we have this clothing brand that we partnered with. We have, education. We have, what else we got? I mean, I'm working on multiple deals like franchises and food. I'm just a very curious person, man.
Yeah, you're not in one genre, which I love about you. Every time we speak, there's always something unique and cool you're up to.
This is my opinion, okay? A lot of people will tell you, dude, you got to focus on one thing, stay in your lane.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and it's actually good advice up to a point. So if you're just getting started and, you're broke and we're trying to go 0 to, 6 figures, then yeah, you should stick with one thing. Trying to go figure out, I want to do this and dabble. Like too many people do that. They're like, I flip sneakers, but I'm also a realtor. And I'm like, no, do one thing and dominate that first, right? From there, once you have success and acumen and everything you've achieved, let's just say you're a millionaire, right? I actually do think it's smart to start exploring. Obviously you want to double down on what you're good at, which for me was flipping houses and real estate. So like that was always running. It's not like I stopped doing that. Like that was always going. But me personally, I wanted to start exploring other things, media, right?
Yeah.
People, when I first started doing social media, a lot of my colleagues and friends and people in masterminds, they're like, why are you making TikToks? Like, this is stupid. And I'm like, guys, you don't get it. I think this is going to be big. Like, why don't you just spend all that time? Literally, this was a question.
Yeah.
How much does TikTok make you, Ryan? I go, 0. And he's like, how much does going on seller appointments and running your business and getting another deal makes you? I go, a lot of money, right? Like, we're talking, if I do this every day, millions of dollars. He goes, so why would you make TikToks? And I go, because I think that, yes, today it doesn't make me money, but I think in the next 5 years, it'll make me way more money.
Brand awareness.
Than this. He just didn't get the long-term vision of it, right? But that's how somebody thinks, like, very one-dimensionally of like, why would you do this? It makes no money when you could be doing this. You're already really good at this. Why try to like learn a new skill? And, over the years, what I have realized is the more new skills I learn, the more dangerous I become in all businesses. Because when you think about it, like, how many people can draw from so many different things and figure out a solution to the problem or the best way to run it, right? If you talk about like all the things I've been through in my life, they say to become a master at something, you got to spend 10,000 hours, right? Okay. If I were to just tell you everything I've spent the 10,000, and I don't think you really need 10,000, right? Because some people learn quicker than others. But let's just say things you're a master of, right? I would say, okay, I definitely did that in baseball, became a pro, definitely did it in real estate. I did it in media. I've done it in business and just starting and being an entrepreneur. I'm working on it in golf. That's my next goal. I've met all these different people and like absorbed knowledge from them. And you start just like realizing like, who is going to have the better answer to a solution? Somebody who spent, 100,000 hours doing one thing, or somebody who's spent, a lot of hours doing multiple things, right? Who's not just a one-trick pony. Because if you've only only done real estate, whenever I talk to guys who are strictly real estate, they're very successful. But like, I listen to what they like, and their very limited knowledge in real estate. And I'm like, dude, over here, this is how we would do that. This is how we would do that. You don't understand what I went through over here. And so when I come to a new company or somebody wants to partner, I can draw from all these different experiences and I can say, no, that's not going to work because over here I did that and I know it's not going to work. It's doomed to fail. So I don't know. I think having a lot of experience is good.
And also having, I think, a roller index of good people around you too. That even if, like again, you and I have a roller index of phenomenal people that we can pick up the call and speak about wide range of different things. Things that you and I, yes, might have had a toe in, but a genre that we might be newly exploring, we have that person in our phone, right? So, but that's been earned through years and years of us perfecting our craft to then provide them with our knowledge. And it's a two-way street. Both of us have the same people in the phone, plus more. But one thing that has separated you from the pack, and something that you mentioned earlier, is brand recognition, right? And you certainly, looking at you right now with the red hair, are certainly, undeniably recognizable wherever you go. I've been friends with you, and I think it's been 3 hair changes since you and I have been friends. Blue, red, and green, I want to say.
Yeah.
But how has that served you?
The hair or just overall?
The hair. The brand, the hair, and what you created, and why did you decide to color your hair?
So I've been doing my hair like this poofy way for like, I don't know, the last 6 years. So way before social media. And people would always comment on my hair. They're like, dude, you got like really good hair.
You do have good hair, by the way.
Thank you. And, my friends who are balding get mad because like they're losing their hairline and I shave my hairline to like, get a line up. They're like, bro, you're getting rid of your hair. I just want hair. Yeah. So anyways, it was always a running joke. But, when I got on social media during COVID, I just did social media, right? Like it wasn't like, I didn't even think about my hair being a thing, but like when I would look in the comments, that was like the number one thing. People are like, what the heck is up with this dude's hair? Like there were people who were like, dude, best hair. Then there were people like, this guy looks like an idiot. And there were so many hair comments and people don't really do it that much anymore because now that I'm known, but it was a very big thing early on. I was like, dude, why are people so obsessed with my hair? This is weird. So anyways, after a year, I just had this idea. I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to dye my hair, but I've been too chicken to do it. I was like, I'm just going to freaking dye it blue. And so I dyed it blue one day.
So random, by the way.
Yeah. And I didn't dye it blonde, or I was just like, let's just go straight to crazy color. And, in comments and stuff, people were going nuts and everything. And then I just started dyeing it different colors for fun. And after doing it the first time, it turns out I was like, dude, I actually think I look pretty cool. Like, I like that. And people were like, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And originally I said, well, people were already talking about it anyway. If somebody's talking about something, you might as well amplify it and throw fuel on the fire. So I was like, let me throw fuel on the fire and just see how it goes. And yeah, people definitely started talking about it a lot. And, whatever, it grew out. And then I just went to natural for 6 months. And then last year I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to dye it again. And at this point, it was just for fun. It wasn't even I already knew the reaction. And then after I dyed it again, it became oh, this is just what he does, And so then, I grew out, went natural. And then now I've recently dyed it again, and nobody really says anything. They're just like, yeah, that's just what you do. You dye your hair.
I was going to say, but way back when you started doing this pretty often, the color changes. Do you see any analytical changes?
I tell people, subjectively, yes, I see an analytical change. Just looking, I'm like, yeah, it gets more views. But if you ask me for receipts and a data analysis, I couldn't tell you. I do it for fun.
Well, let's talk about how you and I met, and then we'll, no pun intended, land the plane on the podcast, because
okay.
you and I can talk for another hour at best. But you and I met. We went on a business trip to San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
We caught the jet out. There was this a Solana NFT?
Yep.
Something like that.
Solana. It was they're going on. I think they were getting on the New York Stock Exchange for I forget what they call it.
Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't
ETF.
The trip that
they were
thought.
starting Solana ETF.
Yeah, and it got denied or something. I don't know, right?
Did it? I don't know.
Well, obviously it's not on the. I don't see any crypto ETFs, but nonetheless, we all. That's the first time you and I met.
Yep.
Obviously, I'd seen you through TikTok. The hair and everything else. So we truly met for the first time with, okay, who are you?
Yeah.
And what do you do? And we had some really good conversation. We flew from Vegas to San Francisco. We actually stopped off and picked up...
we stopped in LA, I think.
We picked up the DJ.
Matt.
Yeah, Matt.
Yep.
Great guy.
Yeah, great guy.
Dancing king that night. This guy's a professional dancer.
Yeah, he is.
What's Matt's last name?
Stefanina.
That's it, yeah. DJ, professional dancer. And me and Ryan were in this, it was like a business element club. And this guy was just going bananas. And me and Ryan were two-stepping. Not even good at that. But nonetheless, we caught a jet out, and we truly just...
That club night was crazy.
Yeah. The flight for me was, again, a hangout, obviously. But trying to talk in that club was no, right?
No, the flight was great. And, just hanging out was great. I will say, speaking of the hair, you can cut this out if you want, but funny story. So I was we were in that club, right? And it's in San Fran. Mm-hmm. Obviously a lot of gay people in San Fran. And
really?
And there was a lot at that club, right?
It was. That's why I was close with you. Just in case somebody...
So I went to the bathroom, and at the time I had my green hair and whatever, super flamboyant.
Yeah.
And I'm washing my hands, and I remember looking up, and there's just all these dudes just standing there, and I'm like, what is everyone standing here for? No, they're not going to the bathroom, they're not washing their hands, they're just standing there. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and it just occurred, I was like, these guys are looking at me like I'm a snack. They think this is the appetizer. That's because they were just staring at me, and I'm like, I've heard these rumors of what goes down in these bathrooms of, places like this, and I was like, I'm gonna get out of here, man.
I'm gonna get Flex.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
throw
Flex.
him into the lion's
I'm gonna
den.
get Flex unless Flex is somewhere doing something that I don't know about.
I was hugging the wall.
I was hugging the wall
until my boyfriend came back. No, but I was. The green hair was definitely giving off some wrong signals.
No, it was giving off some hey, I'm available vibes for sure.
Green means go.
That's what they thought.
Yeah. Thankfully you escaped. I don't know. I didn't know about this story until now, by the way, as you know.
Yeah.
But that was the first time you and I met, and we kept in connection since then. You've had me on your podcast, and I truly appreciate this organic friendship. I've
tried to have you at WealthCon too.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, I tried to have you last WealthCon, and then you text me before this, and you're like, yeah, maybe one day I'll be good enough to speak on your stage. I'm like, what are you talking about? I already asked you. And then I said, you know what? Come to the next one. And by the way, October 3rd to the 6th, wealthcon.org. Come to the, Flex may or may not be there. The invitation is open.
I appreciate it.
And, he's like, let me look at my schedule. I don't want you to think. And then I saw him like text his assistant, and then all of a sudden his schedule was booked. And I was like, all right. I don't know if he's trying to shake me down for like a speaker fee or something, but I was like, bro, I thought you were just going to come show up, man. But,
well, you never know. If that jet gets me back to where I'm supposed to be, then, Pineda Air, you know how it goes. But no, that WealthCon has been attended by multiple friends of mine who are savages. You bring so much value to that weekend, mate. You truly do. And this is going to be the second WealthCon in Las Vegas. And you do these every quarter, right?
Yep.
So when is the next one? Is, you said October
3rd to the 6th.
And are the speakers up on the website already?
Yeah, we got like Ed Milet. We've got
End right there.
All right.
Ed Milet.
And then me, and maybe you. Okay. Dan Fleischman. We got there's too many people to even name. Yeah.
Yeah, the who's who.
Wealthcon.org. Just go look.
Just you three alone. Dan Fleischman has been such a unicorn in my life with connections and people that he's met. I mean, obviously, synergistically, he's...
Yeah, I've had a lot of your guests actually on the stage, I was just watching, we said Hormozy earlier. He spoke at one of my events. And, I've been holding events every quarter for the last 3 years. We just happened to rebrand it into WealthCon. So, every quarter we've been throwing them. And, it's crazy just to talk about growth, right? Because a lot of people, they might throw one event a year. Because throwing an event's hard, man, right?
It is, man. I do 2 a year.
Yeah, they're very difficult. And how big are they?
Mine, a few thousand people.
A few thousand?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know how hard they are. And, when I first started throwing events 3+ years ago, it was like in my living room, there was 10 people. Then we outgrew it, and it was like in my office for 30, 40 people. Yeah. Then we outgrew my office, and we had to go get like this other conference area with 100 people. Then we outgrew that, and for the first time, we had to go rent like a place at a hotel, and so we had 250 people. Then we outgrew that, and we had to get one for 500. And then, I'll never forget, our first, like, I would say really big one, was literally this time last year at the Mandalay Bay. We had Hormozy, like I was saying, and, we had like over 700 people. I was like, this is crazy. We got 700 people. Like, and this is every quarter.
Yeah.
And then the next one in January was 1,000. Then it was over 1,000 again. And then this last one was like 1,200. And, I think this one could even have like 1,500. I don't know.
I think that's max capacity for the room, right? You probably have to scale up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we could even buy your tickets because
it's not
they sell out. They sell out
genuinely because you told me I think a couple of weeks before the last WealthCon, you said, bro, we already sold out.
Yeah, well, we were over capacity, and because you go over capacity because you anticipate some people won't show up because of. I don't know who does this, but like these people pay thousands of dollars for tickets and don't show up. I'm like,
blows my mind as well.
Yeah, like how do you not show up? But it happens, and so you have to like say, all right, let's anticipate 10% of the room or so is not going to show, and so you oversell, and we oversold, and a lot of people showed up. So, it was packed.
So if the viewers, before we change the subject and we land this plane, what kind of topics do you cover at WealthCon? Real estate?
Yeah. So there are 3 core topics that I'm very passionate about, and that's why we cover it at WealthCon. Real estate, entrepreneurship, and social media. Those are the 3 keys. So all of my speakers are revolved around those 3 things for the most part. I mean, really, what the speakers are revolved around is the wealthy way, right? What we've already been talking about. So, I've got some real estate experts. I've got some social media experts and some, big time entrepreneurs. But then, like I said, I'll bring a pastor in, and I have a pastor speak at every event. I'll bring a health expert in and have them speak about health. And, it's all related back to investors and entrepreneurs because it's like, this is how you need to manage your family. Like, you're not getting this kind of training anywhere else. This is how you need to manage your health if you're going to be at optimal performance for your business and as a leader. And yeah, I can give you all the tactical things on marketing or sales or investing, but like these other things make those things way better.
Well, I think in the last conversation that we're going to have is what truly is next for Pineda.
I mean, at this point, I don't really make plans. I don't like have goals of like, oh, in the next 5 years, this is where I want to be, or this is the next thing I want to do. Like, I would say I'm an opportunist. And so I'm just like always open. We were talking, I was giving you crap about your schedule. I'm like, bro, how are you already booked out? Like, what are you doing? And you're like, yeah, people book stuff like months and months in advance. I'm like, I don't book out more than like 2 months max. And the reason is, one, I don't like being tied down. That's the whole reason I became an entrepreneur. I like to have freedom. But two, I'm opportunistic. I always want to have my options open for when an opportunity presents itself. So, I don't speak at a lot of other people's events, but like, somebody calls me, I'm like, yo, all right, that's a good opportunity. Let's do it. Right. My schedule's open for podcasts because people are always coming out in and out of Vegas. And for instance, I wasn't going to come to work on Friday, but 2 people are coming to Vegas. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'll come in and get those 2 in because I've already missed the rest of the week, on maternity leave.
And today.
And today I'm just hanging out. So I like to be an opportunist. And so like what business opportunities I'm interested in? Well, anything and everything.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I think what I will become, not I, but the company, is I think we basically become a mini private equity fund. I mean, that's what I think we become. We already been doing it with real estate. Yeah. Like we raise capital, we buy properties. Like that's happened for 10 years now. But the business side of things, more and more people want to partner up. And like, as we've built out all these systems and funnels and, it's like every business requires the same things, right? People come to me all the time. They're like, dude, we need content media. That's the best way to market today. I'm like, we already got all that. That's already in-house and built. Oh man, how do we get good salespeople and all this? Well, we already recruit in-house. Like we got salespeople always coming through the door and applications coming in, right? Hey, we need, strategy on how to create the right offer. It's like, dude, I've created so many offers and products. Like, let me look at the business and figure out what is the best product and offer, right? Hey, we need a relationship with so-and-so. Well, I have a huge Rolodex. So let me connect you with them because that's like the key that's going to help this business scale, right? And so I think with everything unintentionally happening as we've grown, it just sets us up for that. And that's kind of what's happened. Like now we are like I said, we take equity in businesses, kind of like what Hormozy's doing, and I think that becomes a bigger and bigger thing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different things that have changed, obviously, in my life now that I've started getting more into the business element. The more you kind of double down on certain genres, the more opportunities start opening up. And with you, they're not in one category. For me, I love kind of putting, my toe in a few different waters. It excites me. I'm doing things right now that I can't speak about, but I'll tell you off camera that I never thought I would be into, or investing into. But I think that's entrepreneurship at its finest. I've assembled the team, or the team is already assembled, and I'm just bringing that element aside from the financial investment too.
Yeah, I think the big key with business, entrepreneurship, and just doing deals is that you need to understand 2 things. One is, what kind of value can you provide other people? And 2 is, what kind of value do they need? If they intertwine, you can make a deal.
Yeah.
Right? And so timing plays a big role in all of this and when that intertwinement happens. But, for instance, we were talking before this. I'm like, hey, I think I have a good opportunity that you and I could really do together. That opportunity didn't exist even a month ago.
Yeah.
Right? But now it exists. And obviously I've had you in my Rolodex. I know your skill set and the value you provide with what you've created. And I'm like, dude, there's things that can happen to make this really big. And so for me, I'm just sharpening my skills all the time so that I become a valuable partner to somebody else. Because if I know I have systems and processes and resources and these things that add value, and it might just be money, like you said. Some people, they don't want any of the other stuff I have. They just want money. It's like, great, I can raise money, right? Some people want my face and they want me to, be a face of it. All right, well, let's see if it's worth my while. And I'm willing to do that. Some people want our expertise. Some people want our media. And so we have all these resources that people want. And so then it becomes like, man, okay, yes, they were built for me, right? And we're going to use them for our own purposes. But now we can start leasing it off to other people when it makes sense.
I know this is kind of a deep question, and I'll prolong the podcast, but how do you...
Is the plane running out of fuel?
Yeah, soon. How do you define, or how do you separate you as the brand and a paid venture that you could get involved with? Because somebody could say to you, hey, Ryan, I need you as the face. When you look at this deal, it's like, I'd rather throw money into it. Where's the separation for you? I know it's kind of a deep question, but you got to remember now that our audience, athletes that may be able to invest in something or be a face of something. What's the advice that you would give them?
So I've had a lot of athletes on my podcast, and I had Von Miller on recently, and I've had you on. I've had other NFL and MLB guys, like All-Stars and Hall of Famers, and I've talked to a lot of agents actually too. And the thing that agents are doing now, because they're wising up, is that it's like, look, we don't want endorsement deals anymore. Like, we want equity,
skin in the game.
Yeah, and I've always said that from the beginning. I've told all my YouTube influencer friends who, your staff has worked for. And I literally told them, I'm like, guys, are idiots for just taking all these sponsors. Like, own the business. Or if they won't give you equity, start your own. Start the competitor and take 100%. Why are you taking 10, right? And so I think for me, I've never really done sponsors anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Okay.
I've always either taken equity or promoted my own companies because everything else wasn't worth it. Yeah. And as you know, it's very difficult to build a brand and an audience. To me, I think we will continue to become more valuable as time goes on. We are the rarer commodity versus the businesses. Businesses come and go all the time. It takes a long time to build an audience and a following.
True.
So, to that end, if a business comes to me and they're like, yo, I want to, if you look on my podcast, I don't have sponsors. I haven't had it for years.
Mm-hmm. I just found that off camera for the first time. I didn't even know that.
I don't take sponsors. I'm like, bro, I'm promoting my own stuff. Because think about it. If they're willing to go pay me this crazy amount of money to sponsor the podcast, they must be making 10x that. So it's like, why not just promote my own stuff, So there's that element to it. And also, too, it's like when you're promoting other people's stuff, you don't have control over the fulfillment. So when I promote my own stuff, I know exactly what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And good or bad, right? Usually good. But when things don't go good, I have the ability to fix it.
Yeah. You're the face. You get in front of it.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what happened with all this FTX crap, right? That was the problem. Everyone promoted it and they couldn't fix it. And so, there's always risk when you're promoting somebody else's stuff that you don't actually own or have intimate knowledge of what's happening behind the scenes. So yeah, very rarely would I promote a brand. But I will say this. If it's something I am passionate about and I'm a user of, that's a different story. So like this clothing brand Scene, I've been wearing their stuff for a long time. And the guy came up to me, the owner, Ray, he was like, yo, I want to actually do a collection with you. And he's like, we'll design the collection. It'll be the Scene and Ryan Pineda collection. And we'll have this whole, strategy. And we're going to go spend hundreds of thousands on ads and put your face out there. And I was like, that sounds good to me. I like your stuff anyway. You're telling me you're going to get me more exposure and we're going to make money together. Okay. I had another one happen with golf. I had two golf companies, I'm not going to say who, two big golf companies reach out, and they're like, Ryan, we want to sponsor you. I am not a pro golfer, right? And so, but they're like, dude, we know you love golf and, whatever. And so, I'm in talks with that. And it's like, for those, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I use the stuff anyway. I might as well get paid to use it.
Well, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, but it will never take away from the main thing that I am,
of course,
promoting. So like if I do a deal with Titleist or TaylorMade or whatever, right? Don't ask me to like post all this stuff about him every week. It ain't worth it, right? They're not on the podcast. Like we'll do some cool, fun stuff behind this. If I'm out golfing, sure, I'll show off my whatever bag in clubs. But the moment it starts taking away from the other stuff that actually is my thing that I own 100% and that, or not even 100%, but like I have partners in most of my companies, but like thing that makes me way more money than this, then it's a problem.
Yeah, my rule is that I push my own stuff, and what I don't or have no intention of getting into, I will promote. So, Monster, obviously, incredible sponsor, comes with a roller index of people that I know get to have, good relationships with. Yep. But there would be no connection outside of Monster. That right there, plus obviously what I get being endorsed athlete, again, a roller index that you can't pay for. So I have no interest in getting into that world and energy drink world yet. Until that moment happens, they're going to be a sponsor. But outside of that, even from you're promoting your clothes, here's me wearing mine. Everything I promote subconsciously and consciously, but I'm also not a hard sales guy. You've never seen me saying, hey, buy this product, even with all my sponsors. So I've gone into this as an athlete, completely different how other athletes are. They've carved in their contracts hard posts. For me, all my stuff is organic. Yeah. And that's how I carved it out. And, I designed this by choice.
And that's we're saying the same thing.
Yes.
Is essentially like, hey, I'm going to wear it and I'm going to represent it, but like there's not hard posts that I'm just making, right?
Yeah.
But with my companies, obviously, like I hard pitch my stuff all the time because two things. One, I believe in it. I think it's the best. And two, dude, doing all this stuff ain't free. I got bills, baby. Like, I got a lot of employees.
And new kids you're popping out.
Yeah, I got 3 kids. I got 100 employees. Like, we got to sell.
Yeah.
And if you really believe in your product that much, you should be talking about and selling it. And it's like, dude, this podcast ain't free to film. So, something's got to pay the bills.
Absolutely. Well, potentially, there might be something in the pipeline for you in the future. And I'm always...
If we partner, you will learn to be a hard sales guy. You'd be like, Ryan, it's just going to be sitting there organically. I'm like, no, it ain't. We're gonna. If it's me, I'm gonna be looking at the camera and be like, guys, buy me and Flex's thing. You won't even have to hard pitch it.
We've got kids to feed.
We got kids. We got bills.
Got hair dye. Hair dye's not cheap.
Hair dye's not cheap. Flex has got private jets he's trying to get on. Like, stuff ain't cheap.
But that's the exciting thing about my move to Vegas and has been, the roller index of people that are out here just like yourself, and it's been the best move for me and my family. It would be hard if my family are hating this and I'm having the best time, but my wife is the CEO for a lot of my companies. She's a networker. She loves Vegas and everything that it brings us. Obviously being a man of faith, that line that you have to march, living here in Vegas, being Sin City. Yeah. I don't see it. I again, by control and by design, I don't go to the strip if it's just for meals. I don't get caught up because people have this, perception about Vegas and being, I couldn't live there. It's crazy and stuff. It's like, yeah, it is crazy. That's why you stayed away from it. I live in Summerlin, you live in Henderson. So it's like,
but you know what it's funny because I'm born and raised here.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
So like, this is my town, and everything to me just is like, it's normal. This is how you like live life. I remember
Vegas ain't normal, bro.
To me, it's normal. But like, I remember the first time I left Vegas, I went and played college summer ball in Cape Cod, and Big difference. It was like all green. I'm like, where the heck am I at? This place like is all green. It's just weird. It's just different, right? Yeah. And then and as my baseball career evolved, I lived literally everywhere. I lived in Canada, Dallas, North Dakota, New Jersey, Stockton, California, in the hood. Like, I've lived everywhere. And I saw, like, obviously different things and all this. But when people come to Vegas, a lot of my friends, like, from the South or conservative areas, because I got a lot of Christian friends that live out there, they're like, dude, how do you live here? Like, there's naked girls everywhere. There's like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I just don't even notice it. Like, you know, the billboards and all, like, it just, well, it's just like, I don't know. It's just become it's just part of Vegas. I'm like, yeah, it's just whatever. Like, I don't even see it.
Again, I know we're kind of prolonging this, but I'm enjoying this conversation because I kind of woke up from a can of Monster. You talked my ear off so long before the podcast, just to let everybody know. And I got my producer and my videographer here. Ryan said, "Hey, I'm going to meet you at 11:30." I said, "Come closer at 12 because this, you know, you're not a rookie at this. I want a business meeting before." He said, "So okay, Ryan, business meeting." We chit-chatted away for about 30 minutes before the business meeting started. All valuable, all kind of like catching up. I said, "Ryan, we're doing a podcast right now. We need to get on air." My producer came and got me. And with Ryan, he's so... when he talks to you, you get so excited about something, passionate.
Yeah.
That you sucked away my energy at the beginning of this podcast. It's taken like the last 20 minutes to get my mojo back. But nonetheless, now my brain is firing. How... as a dad, and living in Vegas, how do you think about that? How our kids are going to grow up with so much, like you said, you're blind to it, you know? You kind of like subconsciously turned that off. I'm just saying this, as that was my biggest concern moving here as a dad, moving from Florida to the school my daughter was in to then bringing her out here. That was my only biggest concern because I was torn in my heart. But then when I got to the school systems and I seen how it was here, great school system. She's in private school. I know your kids have got a different schooling system, but how are you prepared to combat that? And are you nervous at all about them being brought up in Vegas?
You know, I see a lot of people with that fear, a lot. I mean, for me, my wife and I we grew up in Vegas. So like, we turned out pretty good. And
from your standards or somebody else's?
I don't know. I'm on straight out of the lair. So it worked out.
Falling fast. Oh shit! Yeah, work it out.
It worked out. So no, I don't know. Like I said, I grew up here. It just, to me, it just is a like normal way of life, and I didn't even recognize any difference. Now, being a man of faith, for sure, I actually was just meeting with a nonprofit right before this about fundraising and different things, and they're like, "Did you know that Vegas has Clark County School District, which is the 6th biggest school district in the country?" And I already knew this, but Clark County is also rated like the 49th like school district in some ranking, right? So it's not very good. And my wife actually was an 8th grade English teacher in the inner city here. And I was a great substitute teacher too. So like, I'm very experienced with the school system. We both grew up going to public school here. Okay. So like, you know, we got it pretty dialed in with what we've seen. That being said, life
has changed though. Social media and all
for sure.
Stuff.
Yeah, life is totally different today than it was when we were in school. 1000%. What we decided is we're going to homeschool. Okay. And every time I talk about homeschool, it like gets so many views because like I think it's just becoming more and more popular. And I think entrepreneurs are now realizing, well, freaking, I'll teach my kid more than the school system. And you know, also too, like when you live a lifestyle like ours where we're traveling a lot and stuff, I want my kids to come with me, you know? So it's more of a lifestyle thing for us. It's an educational thing of like, I know we can teach them better. I mean, we literally get paid millions to teach people stuff. So like we are running a school already. But the third thing is, like politically with all these crazy things happening in the school system, I'm not about that. And so, you know, whatever, I don't care what anyone else believes, but don't force it on my kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can control that. Now, does that mean that my kids are going to be homeschooled forever or whatever? Like, no. I mean, look, as they get older, who knows? They might be like, Dad, we want to go to school and whatever. And we'll make a choice as a family at that time when it comes. So that, you know, every decision I ever make, there's no absolutes in life. It's like, this is what I think is the best thing for today. Maybe in 10 years, it's not the case. Because my wife and I will tell you, we always thought we'd send our kids to public school here, and we had no problem doing it because we both grew up in public school. She worked in public school. We're like, dude, it's fine. Then we started to make some money, and I was like, all right, we're probably going to send them to private school just because, you know, that's what you do. Then as time went on and I started interviewing all these entrepreneurs on my podcast, literally almost all of them had their kids homeschooled.
Really?
Yeah. Almost all of them who were very big entrepreneurs were homeschooling for the same reasons I just mentioned. Travel, schedule, they can teach them better, the influences at the school. And honestly, too, the more I started looking into the psychology of everything, it's like, man, the first 10 years of your kid's life is basically like how they are imprinted in what they believe going forward. And for me, I think about that and I'm like, well, I should probably be imprinting the values that I want them to have more than some random teacher that I'm assigned.
And a curriculum that is becoming more and more woke.
Yeah, for sure. Everything's becoming, this woke culture. But, honestly, as much as it's becoming that way, you're now seeing like everyone fight back because everyone's kind of just tired of it.
I agree.
So I think we might go in the other way 5 years from now where things might go, not ultra conservative, but they might swing back that way. I mean, that's just kind of like what life is. And people always say, they're like, man, Christianity and faith is declining every year and all these things. And it's like, well, if you actually look at history, this whole woke thing is nothing new. I mean, the hippies, back in the 70s, it was the same thing, right? Like the world was ultra conservative. Hippies came along. They had all these different worldviews of how to live life, right? And, they had their time, and then there was a new thing happening the next year. Then the 90s were different, and the 2000s were different. But one theory I heard on why the school system is so woke these days is because those hippies are the teachers now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes sense, actually. Like, logically, that makes a lot of sense, especially at the university level, which is usually more liberal and woke and whatever else. So, yeah, I don't know, dude. As a dad, Vegas doesn't concern me one bit. I'm not worried about it one bit. I'm more concerned about what am I teaching my kids at home, because that's going to have a far bigger impact on them than Vegas.
Well, my man, listen, I appreciate the conversation that has been all over the place.
That's all my podcasts go to.
But again, I've been on your podcast, and why is it every time I land the plane, your tires, I break something? They've done the same thing yesterday. But yeah, in closing this, my friend, is there anything you want to push, promote? I know we've already talked about so many different things. Is there anything we didn't cover?
Bro, I think everyone just needs to comment and say, Flex, why aren't you going to be at WealthCon? October 3rd through the 6th. It's literally in Vegas. Like, you don't even have to fly anywhere. Like, you could literally just M Casino. It's not far from. Like, actually, it's 5 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm just kind of offended, but it's all good.
Well, you're a good negotiator, and you also hit me in the ego too. So yeah, we'll have to speak with my CEO, aka my wife. I don't know if you want to stay in the good side of her, but
well, I'll let you speak. I'm gonna go back to the office. We're not gonna speak to her together.
But listen, Ryan, my man, it's always a pleasure whenever it is. I know that you frequently come to the gym here at the Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
Even though you've built your own incredible gym at the house, which, by the way, I've not had an invite to, but I'm just saying that too. But anyway, but you were on your own transformation. You've done a phenomenal job. It was a conversation that you and I had many months ago, and it's now, to see you go full circle from having a closed mindset of optimal performance to now seeing where you're at right now. Not to open another can of worms, but for me, sitting now in the seat I'm at, looking at you, just goes to show that you are open to conversation. You're not closed-minded person. And again, when you're doing business with somebody, things like this, I note this. Conversations, how you treat people, how you act, walk, talk, it all plays a part on the person I want to align myself, as vice versa. So just to see you where you are now with your training and having the mindset of having a savage body, transcends into being a savage in life, right? And I truly want to thank you for all that you are for me, my circle of friends, and all the wealth that you give your audience all around the world. You put a lot into this. People don't understand the amount of hours that you sit in front of a camera and record and put together worth, that you are putting out to the world. This is all goes back to you. So what comes out of your mouth can truly impact people. And obviously we're both in them situations. And I know again, the responsibility that it comes when you have a mic in front of you to truly give advice. So where and what you've done on YouTube, in your businesses, in more so as a dad, as a husband, is incredible, mate. And as I said, I find myself more and more aligned with you and people of that nature every quarter, to be honest. So I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to come here and listen to me babble on and ask you questions. But it truly means so much, mate. So thank you very much.
I appreciate your friendship, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Straight out the lair, Ryan Pineda, we are out.